Hello, Incredible Moms. This is Crystal Evaristo with the Incredible Moms podcast, where we discuss getting pregnant, being pregnant, having babies, being a mom, and so much more. We hope you enjoy the show. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. You could just start off by telling me about your family and a little bit about yourself, pregnancy, birth story.
Yeah. Well, I have been with my husband. We just celebrated our 4-year wedding anniversary on July 26th. So we've been together a little while. Haven't killed each other yet. So yay.
It's always a good thing.
But, we found out we were pregnant with our first a few months before we got married. So that was exciting. A few years later, there was another surprise. We had our second. But this one was like our biggest surprise. We were not trying whatsoever. And then, yeah, God said, just kidding, you're going to have another one. I was like, oh, yay. Yeah, because I just celebrated a year of working at a nonprofit. So I have like fallen in love with the place, getting in the groove. And then I found out I was pregnant. I told my supervisor, I was like, please, like, don't, like, I know you can't fire me, but like, I'm coming back. I promise. Like, I love this place too much. I have to come back. Okay. Like, this is what's happening.
Don't replace me.
Exactly. All of our kids have just been happy surprises, kind of. We never really like, with our first, we talked about the potential of having kids, but yeah, we were like, 2 is good. Like, 2 is a lot. Like, maybe we'll have like a max of 4. But yeah, we had the 2 and we're like, whew, this is a lot. And then, like I said, we got the third one. My husband has forever like, okay, we're going to try until we have a boy.
Oh my God.
We're just going to keep on going until we have a boy. I was like, oh, huh? Like, that's okay. If you say so. Yeah. As you can see, we are 3 for 3 girls. But he's kind of come around. He's like, 3 is a lot. Maybe we'll wait. Maybe 3 is good. Like, maybe we don't need that boy.
Right. Especially when they're pretty close together. My third was so much easier because we had 2 older boys to help us, but you got your hands full.
Yeah. It's chaos. Yeah. It's a blast though.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Some days I'm like, what have I done? But then they're like the sweetest, they come up and they're like, but I love you, mommy. I'm like, okay. Yeah, whatever you want. Kind of how I got into this. So I found out I was pregnant in December, and I was supposed to have my period over like Thanksgiving, and I didn't. But I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Oh well, like I'm breastfeeding, so like it's irregular anyways. Like, and then a few weeks went by, and I was like, there's no way. Like, well, let me take a test just in case, I guess. But it was expired. But I was like, yeah, I'll just try it anyways. And then I'll get a new one at the store like in a few days. And I like popped positive like immediately. And I was like, oh, well, it's expired. So it's wrong.
False positive.
Yeah. I was like, I know false positives don't happen very often, but it's definitely wrong. Yeah. And then my husband went a few days later and got another one, and it popped pretty quickly. And I was like, oh, okay.
I can't believe you waited a few days. That would have killed me.
I was just in denial. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll like make an appointment with my OB, like to get a ultrasound, and we'll see. I don't think I believe it until I see the ultrasound. Like this can't be. But I had reached out to one of my friends who is actually a doula. She helped me with my first. She was my doula in that birth at the hospital. And she was incredible, like helping with pain management and everything. And so I kind of just reached out to her and was like, hey, like, I know you had your kid at birth center. Like, where was that? Like, do you have any suggestions? And And she had him at the birth center in Chapel Hill, which sadly closed.
I heard about that.
Yeah. And I was like, are you kidding me? But so I was like looking around and I was like, do you have any other suggestions of like where to go? And she was like, well, if you're really just wanting like a physiological birth, the least amount of intervention and stuff, like probably your best bet is to do a home birth. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting.
With your first one?
This was with my third.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. With my first, I just had her at the hospital. I don't have my doula so that I could have pain management. She could help me with like different like methods of pain management. Because I wanted to do natural with her, and I did.
Oh,
and
awesome.
then with my second, I was interested in like doing like a water birth or something, but we had just moved to the Raleigh area, and so I like got overwhelmed by like all of the like OBs and like all the options. So I was like, I'll just pick this one. Like, it's fine. Like, yeah. So with my third, I was like, let me like look and see like what I actually want to do. And so, yeah, she mentioned that there was like a Facebook group for home birth and everything. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I looked into it a little bit. But like no midwives would come out to my house. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Like, and then also like, no one would take my insurance. So I was like, okay, like, whatever. Like, if this is a boy, I'll pay out of pocket and like get like the birth that I desire. And then if it's a girl, maybe I'll have another chance at another pregnancy. So I'll just like do whatever. So I kept on seeing my OB. And I found out it was a girl. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I still kept on like trying to find someone who would come out to my house. But I kind of like let go of the idea of a home birth because, yeah, most people were like, that's a ridiculous idea. And also like, yeah, my husband was very like, we have the birth covered if you go to the hospital. So like, why would you not?
Right, I guess.
I was like, I mean, I guess, but also I don't really want to. Yeah. I just stayed at my OB for a while, and then I was probably like the last month or two, I was like, you know what? Like, this is really what I want. And I had seen like things about like free birth and unassisted birth, and I was like, oh, people do this like without a midwife or like just different like support people. Like, that's not the most psycho idea. I guess I'm not totally crazy. So I was looking into it, and I had found one person that said she would come out to my house to like help, just like support and clean up and everything. And I was like, okay, cool.
This was a lay midwife type of situation, or?
Yeah, like a birth keeper.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that could be a possibility. But again, my husband was like, why would we pay out of pocket for someone when we could just get everything covered? I was like, okay, well, I guess then you can clean up. He's like, whoa. Yeah. So he was very like not about like this idea. He was just like, okay, I think he honestly probably thought that like I would kind of give it up like after a little while if he like would just kind of ignore it.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't feed into it or whatever.
Yeah, but it kept on getting closer and closer, and I like was listening to like different podcasts. I was reading books. I was like researching. I was like, all right, like, I mean, I've already had 2 kids, and like with both of them, the doctor basically didn't make it into the room because they didn't believe me. Like, I was like, she's coming. Like, she's falling. And they're like, oh, like, it's okay. Like, I was like, no. She's coming out now. And they're like, oh, don't push. And I was like, she's literally falling out of me. Like, I'm not trying to push.
Right. She's like pushing herself out.
My body is doing what it was made to do. So sorry. Yeah. And then with my second, I made it to the hospital about an hour or two before she was born.
Oh, so you had her all natural too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're a superwoman.
So I was like, I mean, I've done 2 natural. What's another one? Like, it's fine. And my husband like raised some concerns, she's like, what about like, seeing like if the baby is okay, and like, what if you tear, and like all these things. I'm like, okay, yeah, but like, I mean, as long as she's breathing, as long as I'm not like bleeding profusely, like, we're okay. Like, worst case, we can transfer to the hospital. It's not like mandatory that like if I choose home, then like that's it. I just die at home.
Right. Sometimes it happens accidentally at home. I mean, I'm a labor and delivery nurse, so we see it all the time. People come in, they're like, I had no idea. And they have a baby in their hands and their placenta's still in. We're like, oh, okay.
Exactly. And I brought up to my OB, I was like, well, my last one, like my second one was pretty fast. So like, what happens if I do like, oops, like she came before I like was ready, or like I made it to the hospital? And they were very just like, oh, well, like you've had 2 children. This is your third. You know what labor feels like. So as soon as something starts, come on, straight in. And I was like, that's not the answer I was looking for.
That's what they have to tell you anyway.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to have my best interests, but like, yeah, I want to labor at home as much as possible. So this pregnancy was like way different. Had Braxton Hicks for a good like week or 2, which I did not have any signs of labor with the other 2 until like it was happening. With my first, my water broke, and they tell you to like rush to the hospital as soon as your water breaks. So that's what I did. And then with my second, I like started having contractions. So Braxton Hicks were like super weird and confusing for me. I was just like, how do I know like what's the real thing versus like, this is my body preparing me. Like, what do I do here? And I went over my due date with both of my other 2. So I didn't have high hopes with this one. I was just like, oh, she's going to be late too. Like, don't get excited. But then like the Braxton Hicks were happening all the time. And I was like, okay, maybe she'll come early. Like, maybe I'll have an early baby for once. No.
No such luck.
Yeah.
Those third babies, I swear, second babies come fast. Third babies is like hit or miss. Like you're like, why am I in labor for so long? Isn't it supposed to be faster each time?
Right?
Always happens.
Yeah, I know. The third one just keeps you on your toes. Like, maybe, who knows? They'll come when they're ready. So I got a little discouraged with all the Braxton Hicks because I was like, okay, well, she's just never coming. And I woke up Friday. Well, yeah, Friday the 4th around like 3 a.m. and was having like a little bit of contractions. It woke me up. And I was like, okay, like, I'm not going to get too excited, but like, something's happening. So I stayed awake for a little bit, like moving around, because it was uncomfortable to lay down. And I was like, I had like kind of in my head, like, I was like, okay, ideally, I just labor all night. It'll be super quick. And then, when we wake up in the morning, like my girls will come into the room and be able to meet their baby sister. And I just like, all work out perfect. And yeah, I should have known that, like,
You jinxed yourself.
Yeah. Let go of my expectations. So yeah, we woke up on Friday and still nothing was really happening. And I was like, okay, whatever. I guess I'll like go to work because this baby is never coming out of me. So I went for a few hours and I was still feeling a little off, but I was like, well, whatever. And my contractions were like not really there at all. Like after about like 10 or 11 on Friday, like I didn't really feel anything. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And so I just went throughout the day. I was like, okay, baby's coming soon. So like, let me clean my house. Like, let me just set up my room. I like had gotten a bunch of like supplies and stuff. So I was setting up my room, like set up the bedside table, like set up the scale. I was like, all right, like we are going to like be ready for anytime this baby comes. Cause if I'm ready, then she'll come out sooner, right? Like,
so you and your husband decided at this point, this is what you were doing. Like you were going to home birth and that was it.
Yeah, it was probably about a month or a few weeks before I told him. I was like, this is what I want. And he was like, I guess it's ultimately up to you. I was like, yeah, it is. Like, obviously I need your support because you're my biggest person. So I had him suckered in.
Well trained.
And then I had my mom, I actually talked to her about it, and she was way more supportive than I had expected. I really thought she was going to like be like, what the heck, kid? You're insane. Like, what do you mean you want to have your baby at home? But she was like, oh yeah, I mean, you've done it before, natural. Like, I totally understand. Like, yeah, like that sounds awesome. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, I mean, will you be there? Like, I would love to have you there. Like, I was just so thrown off. I was like, awesome. Yeah. So it was my plan to have both of them. And I like had talked to a birth photographer a little bit. And then I talked to my aunt who said she would help like clean up and stuff. So I was going to like call them like a little bit later after, I like had progressed a bit because I didn't want too many people there. On Friday night, I went to bed. I'm a grandma. I go to bed at like 9. So yeah, I went to bed and I was like, I'm exhausted. Like, let me just sleep. Because maybe one day this baby will come out of me. And I woke up in the middle of the night having some pretty irregular contractions. I was like, okay, this again. Like, this happened the night before, whatever. But like, I couldn't really sleep through them. So I was like, okay, like, let's see. Like, I downloaded an app to like, count them, like, time them. And I was like, okay. But they were about like 15 minutes apart. And I was like, okay, so this isn't really like happening. Like, I was like, once they like get way close, I'll call my mom and like let her know, like, hey, it's probably baby day. But yeah, they were about 15 to 20 minutes apart all night long. So as soon as I would like start to fall back asleep, another one would hit. So I just like spent the night like finishing setting up, and I would like sit on my ball. I was sitting on my ball and just like leaning on the bed, trying to like catch any sleep that I possibly could. I was like, I need any rest that I can to birth this baby. It's fine. It's fine. And like I said, I had the expectation like I would just labor all night And then in the morning, like she would be here. Because that's kind of what happened with my second. Like I started feeling stuff around like 10 at night, and then she was born like in the morning around like 9:30. So I was like, okay, yeah, it'll work out. So when my girls woke up Saturday morning, I was so sad and I was so exhausted because I hadn't slept all night. And I was just like, oh, come on, kid. Like, why will you not come out of me? Like, we just want to meet you. Come on, please. And my contractions were still like 10, 15 minutes apart. So I texted my mom and updated her. I was like, well, like they're really not regular whatsoever. And when I got up for the day, like they kind of fizzled out. So here's what it is. And she was like, okay, like I'll come over, like help with the girls and just like maybe like we can like take a walk and just like, get this going. So she came over around 11 and we just hung out. We took a walk in my neighborhood and we just like, she brought me coffee. I was trying to bounce on my ball. I was like, all right, like anything. And then we had talked about going to Target because I was like, well, this is obviously going nowhere and, it's hot outside. So we could just walk around Target, go shopping, but I was really scared that I would like get stuck in the car, like things would progress and I would like just be laboring in the car and be super uncomfortable. So I decided not to. And then around like 1:30, I was like, okay, like I love my kids being here, but like let me get some rest. Let me like, just have some peace and maybe that'll like help things progress. So I sent my husband off to drop them off at a friend's house. And he honestly was irritating me the whole day because I was exhausted and he was just in his own little world. And so I was like, you know what? You can go away for a little bit because I need a break from you too. Like, I was like, maybe like, I'll just like have a new mind. You can leave and maybe I'll find a better attitude. Yeah. So he went and dropped the girls off and my mom and I like got my birth pool like blown up and because I wanted to get in it after he came back. Because I was like, I don't want to get in it too soon. And like, stall labor. I was like, let me just wait until my contractions are a little closer together and like then yeah, my husband will be back and it'll all work out. Yeah. So we set that up and then we went downstairs to get a few things and get a snack. And my contractions like started like being noticeable again. So I was like, okay, like I guess I'll start timing them just like so I have reference and they're about like 5-10 minutes apart. But still like I was like walking around talking, like I was like, I mean like this is annoying, but like it's manageable. Like so my husband got back around like 3:45 and I was like, okay, cool. Like let me grab this snack that I had meant to grab and keep getting distracted. And then we can go upstairs. So I went over to my fridge to get something and I like felt a contraction. So I was like, okay, wait it out. My husband like held me and put like counter pressure on my back. And then I was like, all right, like now like let's go upstairs. And right after I said that, I like got another contraction and it was bad. It was intense. Like, so I like held on to my island and I was like saying affirmations in my head. I was like, okay, like this contraction is opening me up. Like, this is a big one. Like, it is doing something. Like, this one is really bringing me closer to my baby. Like, and I was just trying to breathe through it. And then all of a sudden I felt like a stinging, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, this contraction is really doing something. Like, I must be like pretty dilated. And then all of a sudden I like felt a pop, and my water, like, I feel like it was like the movies. Like, it exploded all over my kitchen. Like, just from wall to table to like,
Oh my God.
it was everywhere. I was like, oh, okay, well, my water definitely just broke. And then I felt like the ring of fire. I was like,
what?
Oh no, like, she's coming soon. And then I reached down, and I like couldn't even, I was just like, head.
Oh my
And
God.
I was like, what? And I was like, head. I was over here, like trying to like work through the contraction and like just process, like, and breathe. And yeah, all of this was happening in like the span of like, a few minutes. And I was like, head. And then her head came out. And I was like, yeah. So thankfully my mom like got into position and like was ready. But like, yeah, it was just like one thought after another. I was like, oh, okay, like there's some stinging. Oh, my water just broke. Oh, she's crying. I feel a head. Her head's out of me. Oh, I should slow down because like I really don't want to tear. Like, let me just breathe through oh, okay, her body's out. Like, it wasn't even like time to like, okay, like we're gonna breathe through this. Like, let my body take over. No, my body took over. Like, my body said she's coming out now.
You're like, you wanted a baby. Boom.
Exactly. Yeah. So thankfully my mom like just jumped in and like caught her from hitting my kitchen floor, because my husband was just standing there like frozen and so confused, like what was happening. Like,
he's like, I'm never doing a hip squeeze again.
right. Yeah. So she was born at 350. So my husband like barely made it back. Yeah. So it was just crazy. Yeah. I was like, I'm so glad that my mom was there and like stepped in. And so I like had that like insane contraction that turned into transition, that turned into like birthing my child all in one. Just like leaning over my island. So I kind of like knelt down on the floor, and my mom like was holding the baby like behind me. And I was like, how do I see my baby? Like, this is not working. Like, yeah, she put her like, through my legs, and I was holding her. And I remember my mom like just being like, okay, she's fine. Like, it's a girl. Like, because we had joked like, what if it like turned out to be a boy? Like, just like, like, yeah. But
more of that denial.
And yeah, I was in denial basically my entire pregnancy. It's fine. Yeah, but I could kind of tell like she was like, she's fine, like she's breathing, she's okay, like the cord is kind of short, like she's okay. And like I kind of looked back, and like I like could see like the cord was kind of around her neck. So I think my mom was like trying to be like really like chill about it, but she was also like, okay. But yeah, baby was like crying and like fine. So we just moved the cord out of the way, and I sat there for a few minutes, just, in shock.
I'm sure.
And, I was just like, oh my gosh, like my baby is in my arms on my kitchen floor. And so my mom and husband, were just trying to, run upstairs to get things because everything was upstairs, set up. So they, ran back and forth, trying to get towels and pads. But I noticed I was bleeding, a little, so I was like, I would rather be safe. So, let me just take some Angelica tincture and make sure I don't bleed out. So I took a little bit of that, and then
is that by mouth, or what do you do with that?
Yeah, I just took a dropper full by
Oh,
mouth.
okay.
Yeah, it's don't quote me on it. It's an herbal supplement, homeopathic remedy type. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I had read about it and heard about it. So I was like, I'm going to get these just in case. And they're natural. So it's not they'll hurt me, I was like, I would rather not bleed out and try this.
Had your placenta come out yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was a little concerned that I was bleeding like that. Yeah. So I sat there just on my knees for a while, and then I was like, this is uncomfortable. And so my mom and husband made just a little pallet on the kitchen floor right beside my dining table. Just threw tons of pillows and blankets and towels, and I laid there for about an hour, just in awe of my baby, and then waiting for my placenta to come out. And that was weird. With my other two, I was not very aware of my placenta coming out, or just the process. And I think because I was in the hospital with the other two, it was faster. Whether they
They probably gave it a little help.
Yeah. I was just I don't remember. I remember with my first, the doctor was super excited about it, and was like, "Do you want to see your placenta? Here it is. Here's where I was connected." I was like, "Oh, cool. Thanks for that."
You're I could have done without that.
Yeah. So it was just a crazy experience. I was like, "Oh, okay. This is a process. And now I actually have to I felt the contractions to push it out, and yeah. So that was kind of crazy to wrap my head around. I was okay, I'm actually birthing the placenta out well. And so it came out, and we cut the cord, and then went upstairs, because I was I wanted to be at home to be in the comfort of my bed and everything. Get me off this wood floor of my kitchen. I I want to be comfortable. Yeah. So we went upstairs and weighed her. She was 8 pounds, 1.8 ounces, which was smaller than my other two, which I was also surprised about. But
that probably helped you a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Rest of history. She's been growing. She's super snuggly. She's been tolerating her sisters.
So how old is she now?
She's a week and a half.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was very, very recently.
Yes.
Wow. So you just been just hanging out, you never even had, have you brought her to the pediatrician or anything yet? Or how does that work?
To the pediatrician. Yeah. I went back and forth. I just had kind of an inner struggle. I was obviously doctors are here for a reason. There is good in doctors. But I also know my body was made for this, and it's not a medical happening we have to freak out. So I was going back and forth, like, I don't want to be dumb and like put me or my child at risk, but also like, I know, like, like my baby's breathing, my baby's eating, like I can assess how I'm feeling. Like I think we're going to be okay, like for a few days. So on Monday, I called the pediatrician and we went and they were pretty surprised. Like, yeah. My husband had to like just be like, no, like, cause they kept on, they're like, wait, what, like, what? So like, no, like your hospital dispatch, like your hospital papers, like where are like, and my husband was like, no, you are the first medical professional. Like, we did not go to the hospital. Like, yeah.
Wow.
But we went to the pediatrician on Monday. Yeah, she just recently had another appointment on Tuesday. So she's back to her birth weight. She's growing, eating like crazy.
That's awesome. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm a labor and delivery nurse. So like when I have like these stories about like free birth or, home birth and stuff, like I'm always so curious to like to know like the details that like I think of, like, oh, like the birth certificate, and like I don't, you may not choose to vaccinate your kids or whatever, but like do they give the meds in the office if you want them? Like it's just like, I don't know, it's so crazy to me. Like I know it happens, like it's fine, like I'm not against it, but there's so many things that run through my mind. Like, did you push her out with the cord still around her neck, or did it? I mean, she just came out so quick, you didn't even really push. So probably,
yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine, just like from your point of view, it's like, that's another thing, just like, like it is kind of like routine, like for like the doctors. It's like, okay, like this is what we do. Like, and yeah, it's, we definitely went against the norm. Like, so yeah, there were like a few things like I was like, oh, like any like vaccines or whatever, like they possibly like would give her, like we can just get them, like afterwards. It's fine. I didn't really like fully like think about that, but yeah, she just fell out of me. So I didn't really like even like notice the cord. And as my mom was holding her, like after, like, yeah, she was fine. Like she started crying on her own. Like it was just, we moved the cord out of the way. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't even like,
she didn't have to stimulate her or anything.
No. Yeah. She had like a little bit of like fluid, that she coughed up because, yeah, she didn't have a chance to like get that pushed out. Like I said, she just flew out. Like,
right.
She didn't have the time to process,
Right. She was probably just as shocked as you were.
Right.
Usually when babies come out like super fast like that, they're like really junky for the first few days. So it's like moms will get really like scared, like, oh, she's spitting up like crazy. Like she's kind of like not very hungry because her belly's full of all this amniotic fluid. And yeah, sometimes that will happen.
Yeah. And I was obviously like a little like more like in tune and just like very cautious. I was like, okay, like I don't want to like mess anything up. So like any little thing, like we can just assess as we go. So like, yeah, I was like, okay, like when is my milk going to come in? Okay, like is she pooping? Like, okay, is she like, like she's breathing? Like just all of these things. I was like, okay, like I can't screw this up. Okay, like she came out fine, but to keep her alive now.
Right. Luckily, you knew what you were doing. Like you've been through it. Like it's like your first time mom each time, anyways. But like you had a baseline knowledge of it, of like a normal baby.
Exactly. Yeah. And then with the like, yeah. So when we went to the pediatrician a few days after, they let us know like, hey, normal like delivery, you know. When you go to the hospital, you would get like a newborn screen, the eye ointment, like vitamin K shot, like Hep B, like this is basically like all that you missed. So like yeah. Like, are you like wanting to do this? Like, are you trying to avoid it? Like, what do you want to do? Like, so yeah, our pediatrician was pretty great. Like, she did like call around and just see like how we would get like, you know, the ointment and like vitamin K shot if we wanted it. And she said like all we would have to do is go to the hospital or like wherever and pick it up, and then she could administer it for us. That way we didn't have to like check into the hospital and like, yeah, basically kind of get stuck there. Like,
right. Like the whole purpose was to stay out of the hospital, and now you have to go get the meds at the hospital and all that. Wow. So did you go to go to your OB and like at some point like see if you tore anything, or did you have like your husband look? Like, how did you know about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like my mom, like kind of she was like, it just looks like, you know, a baby just flew out of you. So like, I can't really tell you. Like, I was like, she was like, I'm trying to be nice, but it's a little scary. She was like, I'll let you see if you want, but like, I was like, I think I'll wait a little bit. Like, yeah. So I was very like trying to be in tune with my body and just like really assess. I was like, okay, like, am I feeling anything? Like, I tore with my first. So I kind of had a baseline of like what it felt like afterwards. And then I didn't tear with my second. So yeah, I was just like really trying to assess how I felt like every moment of the day. I was like, okay, like I was like, I feel like I would notice if like I did tear, like I would be feeling like miserable. And
you'd be bleeding probably like a lot more than usual. And yeah,
that's what I was thinking too. Like I would be bleeding a lot, and like my bleeding like slowed down, like obviously like yeah. As much as it could when, you know, a baby comes out of you, but like yeah, it was pretty regulated. And yeah, so I was like, I think I'm good. I looked at it a few days afterwards and scared myself. I was like, oh no, it's so ugly. It's terrible. And I was like, oh no, my husband's not going to love me anymore. I'm destroyed. And he's like, you literally just had a baby fall out of you. Like,
he's not going to be looking at that for a while.
Right? Give it some time. Like, it's normal. Like, I was like, okay. Yeah, but my OB was very like, I had a appointment on Monday because that would have been 41 weeks. So they had scheduled an appointment for me to have an ultrasound and just like make sure she was good, that my fluid levels were fine, like all that great stuff. So I called them Monday morning and was like, hey, like I got to cancel my appointment. I had the baby. Don't need an ultrasound anymore. And they were like really just like, they're like, okay, cool. Like, we'll just call you in a few days to schedule your 6-week appointment. I was like, oh.
Did you tell them it was at home?
No, I just, yeah. So I guess they just like assumed that I like went to a different hospital or something. Like, yeah, but I was like pretty thrown off. I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks, guys. Like,
they totally thought I was at a different hospital.
Yeah, because I had thought about. I was like, okay, like if they ask, like I could go in, like just to like make sure I didn't tear, like you know, like yeah, like I'm not against like getting looked at and make sure I'm like not dying, like. But yeah, they're just like, okay, cool. see you in 6 weeks. I'm like, cool. Okay. Yeah. I'll survive.
Wow. Sounds like that secretary needs to learn a little bit more questions.
Yeah. I was a little surprised. I was like, okay, like, yeah, don't check in, see how I'm doing. Like,
right?
like, it's been a few days. Like, even just like processing, like, I'm good, thanks. I haven't processed my birth yet. It's only been 2 days, but
wow.
I'll survive, guys.
Where do you go if you don't mind? Because I used to work at Wakeman, like Wakeman North, like right. That's near Wake Forest, isn't it?
Yeah. I was being seen at Rex.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't have delivered over there anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah.
When I had my kids in Massachusetts, I feel like I always got a call like a few days later to make sure I was doing okay, like physically and emotionally. Like they would like check in, like do like a postpartum depression screen and everything. And here, it's just so like lackluster.
Yeah. I have been like really, yeah, that's a big thing here. Yeah. They do like the postpartum like screen at your 6 weeks and like after that, like at your baby's appointment. But like, yeah, they don't really like check your mental state, like, or like actually, like,
Right.
and it's like, okay, like you just had like a big thing, like literally life changing. Like you brought life into the world. Like, how are you processing? How are you like managing all this? Like,
Right.
yeah, they're just like, oh, okay, like you're functioning, like you did it. Okay, you're good. Like you seem fine. You're alive. Like,
you're talking, so you must be good.
exactly.
Wow, that's so cool. So you had your second one all natural too. You told me that.
Yeah.
So this just went kind of run of the mill births, and that was it. And then this crazy, crazy difference.
Yeah. My first was like, yeah, my water broke, and then I didn't feel anything for a while. Like I had no contractions or anything. So they're like, we should probably get this going. So they gave me some medicine to soften my cervix. And then I started feeling some stuff like my water broke around like 6 a.m. and I started feeling a little bit of contractions around like 4. And then she was born at like 11:49 that night. And yeah, with her, like obviously it was my first, so like I didn't have much to like I had no idea really. But like, yeah. By the time I was like, I cannot do this. This is awful. Like, give me the drugs. Like, she was coming out of me. So
It's usually how it goes. Well, for multiple baby, not your first time baby, but the other ones.
yeah. And then with my second, I was way more like in like my right mind. I was like, okay, like I've done this before. I know what it's gonna feel like. So like I can do this. Like I can make it through. And then yeah, when I hit the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm so tired. I'm so sick of this. Like my water broke and she fell out of me. So like I was like, okay. So I told my mom and husband, I was like, I like do not want to transfer just because I like chicken out. Like once I get to the point where I'm like, I can't do this, like I give up. I don't want it anymore. Like give me all the drugs. Like that's probably when she's gonna come out. So like don't listen to me, just like encourage me. But that didn't happen this time. She just fell out of me.
That is like not even a exaggeration either. Like she literally fell out of you. Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't even have to like, yeah, just like the stigma of like home birth and like pre-birth. Yeah, I hadn't told many people like that I was planning it just because I didn't want to deal with like, oh my gosh, what about like,
yeah,
oh no, are you crazy? Like, yeah, I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm being seen like on my OB, like I'll deliver here, blah blah blah. Like, yeah. So I was just gonna tell people like, oh, she fell out. But like, yeah, I don't even have to lie. Like, I was not ready. Like, I thought I still had hours. Like, and I was pretty disappointed. I was like, I was going to like get in the bathtub. Like, I was going to like get on my bed. Like, I had so many plans. Like, I thought I had all the time in the world. Like, nope. Like, thank you so much for like having me and just letting me share my story.
The problem is I had no idea what was happening leading up to it. I thought you had 2 kids. So it's kind of like a surprise for me too. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was so nice talking to you.
It was nice to talk to you. Have a great day.
You too. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this incredible mom story today. I really hope you enjoyed it and that it may have helped you in some way. Make sure you rate and leave a comment so I can be sure to bring you the content that you really want. Please follow the Incredible Moms podcast on Instagram, where you'll also be able to find many updates and episodes. I can't tell you how much I appreciate any support. Stay tuned for another Incredible Mom next week.